Hello, children. How are you today? Well, it's story time again. And guess who decided to join me today? Yes, it's Dee Dee, the flapper. She's called the flapper because of these wonderful, beautiful ears that are always flapping. And she wants to listen to the story with me today. And today's story is a scary one. Are you up for a scary story? Not too scary, but pretty scary. It's actually about a big bully. Were you ever scared that a bully might hurt you? Well, I have just the story for you. It's about Wickella and giant black tree. And this story actually happened. It really did happen to a boy named Stephen. But reading this and hearing this story is going to help you never ever be scared again. So are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, let's get started. 11-year-old Stephen hiked along the path through the deep woods leading to his home. He knew Grandma would be waiting for him there to play a board game. Maybe they would play Monopoly today, or battleships. Stephen beat his walking stick against every tree trunk that he passed and chanted, "I'm king of the forest." He felt hugely brave because he didn't know danger lurked ahead. Suddenly he heard an ear-splitting crack. A creature pounced out of the forest, as unusual as could be, and said in a screeching voice, "I'm Wickella. Halt!" Stephen froze and stifled a gasp. Wickella resembled a 5-foot human mushroom with thick stems for legs. Her round body had a short, fat neck and a huge flat head with bushy black hair sticking out behind like a horse's tail. Wickella's arms were scaly clubs with 6 spikes on the ends for fingers. Her eyes, golf ball size, were black with neon green slits slicing the middle. Purple pimples stuck together in a glob on the end of her nose. Teeth shaped like popped corn kernels protruded from her bottom jaw. Stephen had trained himself not to judge people by their appearance, so he forced himself to say hello. Wickella grunted in reply. Her favorite game was bothering people. If you said no, she said yes. If you said go, she said stop. Wickella was a grown-up brat, but Wickella wasn't alone. Stephen heard a stirring in the forest behind Wickella. A creature the size of a tall oak with skin rough and dark like bark emerged from the woods. Its face was partly hidden by a thick mustache that stretched across and above his lips, reaching his ears. That was a long mustache, wasn't that, Dee Dee? "Where have you been, giant black tree? You're late." Wickella grabbed Stephen's stick and walloped Black Tree across his rear. "Ouch!" roared Black Tree. "Shush yourself." Wickella turned back to Stephen. Black Tree began to sweat, and a sickening substance seeped from his pores and dripped to the ground. It smelled like green olives mixed with garlic and vinegar. Wherever it plopped, it made tiny holes in the soil. Wickella stared at Stephen. "You've made Black Tree angry because you're heading the wrong way." Black Tree muttered, "Yep, that's so. She's right." Stephen blinked. "How do you know it's wrong?" "I know what's right for me, so it must be wrong for you." Wickella said. Stephen shook his head. How silly is that? Are you questioning me? Wickella demanded. Excuse me, I'm saying I know the way I need to go. Giant Black Tree moved in front of him, growling. He made a shadow that could have been seen for half a block if the woods weren't so thick. The two creatures blocked the entire path with their humongous bodies. Stephen had never seen talking creatures like Wickella or Giant Black Tree. If he had any idea they were around, for sure he'd have been on his guard. Frightened, he looked to his right and to his left and behind him for help, but saw no one except Wickella, Giant Black Tree, and him. Brambles thick with thorns lined both sides of the path. Otherwise, Stephen could have gone around Wickella and Giant Black Tree. Wickella turned up her nose and lifted her chin. She spoke in a deep, mean voice. You thought you'd sneak through here, didn't you? Her tone was even gruffer with her mouth turned up. Sneak? Why, I'm only passing by. I come this way every day, Stephen said. Well, I'll have none of it. You've caused enough trouble already. Wickella stamped her foot. You certainly can't pass this way. Excuse me. I've never met you, so whatever trouble could you mean? You're in my way. That's bother enough. I can't let you pass. Not a troublemaker like you, I know. Well, I've never seen you before today, Stephen said. Wickella stabbed her sharp, pointy finger at Stephen's chest. Lies! I'm furious. How could you do such a thing to me? Wickella said. What do you think I've done that I didn't do? Stephen shook his head to clear his mind to think. He searched his brain, but couldn't think of anything. I'm on the path I must take. Now get out of my way, please. First you must pay a fee. $5 it will be. Stephen drew in his breath sharply. Oh, I see. It's money you want from me. But this way is free. I won't pay. Not free to you it isn't, and not on Thursday. I say you must pay. But today is Tuesday. All the same, you'll pay. I will not. Stephen tried to edge past. None of that, you, Black Tree snarled. Where's your walking ticket? You need one, you know. That's ridiculous, Stephen said. Of course I don't have a ticket. Then it must be bought. Pay the fee and I'll let you pass. I won't pay, Stephen said, looking every which way to go round. How horrid when I've gone to all this trouble to give you such a deal. A deal, you say? Well, I'll have none of it, Stephen said. I only want to pass. Now move aside. Wickella crossed her arms across her chest. Now you must pay $10. We'll stay here all night if we must. 10? Stephen's eyes widened. A walk's free. I'll not agree. You want to sneak by, I know. Stop this fuss. Why do you care where I walk? Wickella screamed again. You'll not pass. She whispered something in Giant Black Tree's big ear. Black Tree hurried to follow her orders. He turned to Stephen and yelled, You can't stand there any longer. Pay the fee. That's so. She's right. Giant Black Tree snatched Stephen's arm, pulling him closer. Don't touch me, Stephen jumped back. You have no power over me. You're giving me grief, Wickella yelled. Stephen prayed, God, please protect me from this nasty attack and help me get past. Instantly, Stephen felt a surge of strength. He yelled, Leave, in a voice that sounded like cracking thunder. I'm not afraid of you. Suddenly, Wickella and Giant Black Tree shrunk before his eyes. He hurried right around them. When he looked back, they'd completely disappeared. He ran the rest of the way home, thanking God. The next day, when Stephen went down the path, he saw Wickella. She'd been changed into a mushroom-shaped cement bench for people to sit on. Giant black tree stood next to her, a fountain with water shooting out. If you ever sit on a bench in a park with a fountain nearby, look to see if it's Wickella and giant black tree. Goodness, that was a fun story from our book, Unforgettable Stories for Kids, Modern Day Fairy Tales with a Message. Well, I am wondering, Dee Dee, have you ever known anyone purely mean like Wickella or Giant Black Tree who like to bother people? Who never think about others but only want other people to do what they say? Really? Well, thank goodness you haven't, because you don't want to run into people like that. You know, I have to say, though, Wickella was not nice looking and attractive, but that's okay. Sometimes people can be kind and wonderful people if they are not attractive. And it's not a good idea to judge people by the way they look, but by their actions. And Wickella and Giant Black Tree had very bad actions. Do you agree? Yes, you do. Well, I'm so glad to know that all of the wonderful children listening to this story are going to be brave and always act kind to others and very responsibly, and not to let fear stop them from doing or saying, thinking the things that they need to do and say. That's called courage, and hopefully we all are going to be a little braver and not be afraid of imaginary creatures like Wickella and Giant Black Tree. So thank you for listening. Goodbye. Dee Dee says goodbye. Bye. She loved being with you and hearing this story. You have an awesome day.